apply, it takes me to the apply website. So now there is the Chevening scholarship, and then there is the fellowship. So if I'm too fast, please just, you can call me back. Too fast, you can call me back. Okay. So now I've clicked on apply, and this is what I can see, right? So okay. Are we following? Like, I can read your comments. So if you are not following, you can just drop a comment so I can take it slowly. Are we all on the apply page or apply section? Sorry, it's that. Okay, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to slow down. So I clicked on apply, and then it automatically takes you to this website, right? The application website, quote and unquote. And then you select your country. I'm in Nigeria, so I put Nigeria. And then when you click on award, select award, you see that there's a scholarship and the fellowship. What you are applying for is the scholarship. You're not applying for the fellowship, right? If you're part of Global Wins, you're applying for the scholarship, the Chevening scholarship that just opened. So when you click on scholarship, you just search, this is my country, I've imputed my country here. So if you are from Afghanistan, if you are from Albania, whatever country you are from, you just click on the country, and then you click on scholarship, and then you search. Right, my network is a bit slow, but this will get us where we want to go to. Okay, so this is Chevening in Nigeria, and I can see that, okay, it opens until the 7th of October. You have seen the deadline there, right? And now I'll be clicking on apply today. Apply today. So this is where the real work starts. So when I click on apply today, it takes me to the application website. So this is a should I call it a demo session today, and we'll be using like an email address that is not Can we still see my screen? Okay, so it has, after clicking on apply today, it has moved to the next pick an award, right? So I have to pick my country first, like we did before. Are we following? Is it this? Citizenship from below. Can we see that screen, or is it still on the old one?
It's still on the old one. I think your screen is frozen on.
You can type, like you can actually type. I'm looking through the chats. Okay, thank you. So now I get to pick my country, and like we did before, it's still like the same process. You pick the country that you are from, and then you pick the fellowship that you want to apply to. So let's go ahead. I'm from Nigeria. And then
Hi,
these are the
can you hear me?
awards that are available. The Chevening.
Sabdo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear
Your
you.
screen is showing the apply page. Your screen is showing the apply page. It's not showing the. It's showing Chevening in Nigeria page. That is the study in the UK on the fully funded Chevening scholarship page. That's what your screen is showing.
Okay, can we see the
Yes.
screen now? Can we see the other
Yes.
screen? Okay, thank you,
You
sir.
have to go back again. You have to
Thank
go back
you.
again.
Yeah. Okay, let me go back to the apply today page, the tab. So when I click on apply today, right, it takes me to another tab. So I would share this tab instead of the other one. So this is what I see. And then I get to pick my country just the same way we did the other time. When you click on your country, it shows you the award that is available for the region you are applying for, right? So if I'm in Nigeria, these are the scholarships or fellowships available for me, which is the Chevening Oxford Center for Islamic Studies Fellowship, and then the Chevening Scholarship, which I believe all of us here are applying to, which is the Chevening Scholarship. So I click on the Chevening Scholarship and I click on continue. So my network is actually very okay, good. So when you click on continue, you see this, should I call it a dialog box up here? You have chosen to apply to Nigeria for the Chevening Scholarship 2026 to 2027. To be eligible, you must hold citizenship. I believe that's the screen that we are all seeing. Of course, I'm eligible. I hold citizenship for my country. If I don't hold citizenship for Nigeria, I have to go back and select the country that I actually hold citizenship for. But I'm a Nigerian and I'm a Nigerian citizen. Continue. Right? I click on continue. Now, this is where you get to open your account. This is where you get to open your portal, if I should call it that, right? And I put my email address. So, like I said, this is a demo session, so it's actually it's not my main email address I'm using for this session. And then I pick your country has a calling code. For Nigeria is +234. Can we still see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
So this is my country code. Thank you. So this is my country code +234, and then I enter my number. Of course, I'm not going to be using my real number. So let me just put something here. 905 765. So that's my number. Of course, you have to put your actual number. I'm just doing this because, like I've been repeating, this is a demo session. And then my recovery email address. So if I have another email address that can be used in place of this one. So for instance, if I lose access to my application, I can easily put this one and then they send me maybe a recovery mail or something. So if you don't have a recovery email address, you definitely should create one, or you can use one of someone you trust. I don't recommend that, but I believe everybody should have more than one email address. So you can use the second email address to fill this particular session. Are we following? So you put your recovery email address. So what should I put now? Let me put ifechi@gmail.com. Okay. I believe we're still following. Everybody's still following. I know I can be very fast at times, so you can call me back if you need to. And then, of course, I have to agree to the terms and conditions, privacy notice, and all of that. So I click this box here, this little box, and I click on continue. So while I use this email address is not really my email address. It actually exists for the purpose of this class. So when they send a mail, we can go about the registration. But the other things are not real. So don't call me. All right. So I have to review my application details, ensure everything I put in is correct. This is what it is. Recovery email address, my phone number. Just double check to be sure. And then once you are sure and you are saying, okay, this is what it is, my email address is correct, my phone number is correct, then I just click on confirm and continue. Right? So next step, they sent a mail to me. Let me share the tab that has the mail. So I believe we can all see the tab that has the mail. I've received an email now from Chevening that my verification. Hello, thank you for your interest in Chevening Scholarship 2024. They have told me all of that, blah, 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 blah. Read the mail carefully. There's no need to rush. Take your time, go through it, see what they have to say, and then click on the links that they direct you to click on. So they've told me that they strongly recommend that I submit my application as soon as possible to avoid missing the deadline. And then I should verify my email portal. This is a link that I have to click on to verify my email address. Without this, I will not be able to continue. It takes me to a little shaky, but so I will wait for that. It's like go right like this.
Okay, hi everyone. I believe, Satu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. The screen is still on the email. I don't know if it's the same for everybody. You can move to the next screen and continue from there.
Okay, just give me a minute. Let me just reshare the tab again.
Okay, thank you.
Can we see it now? Can we see the eligibility screen now?
Yes, thank you very much. So I'll be taking it up from here. Thank you very much, Asaka. So after you've done your application, you've verified your email address, and you've done the pre-required steps, right? It brings you to the eligibility page, where the questions that you answer here can actually like make or mar your candidacy. So there are right answers and there are wrong answers in this section, right? So first it's asking, are you a citizen of Nigeria? So remember that at the beginning, you actually agreed that you have the citizenship of the country. So if you choose no, that's automatically disqualifying you and this particular application that you started. So you should actually choose yes. Yes would be the right answer, right? And then he asks, will you return to Nigeria after your award has ended for a minimum period of 2 years? We all know that this particular scholarship requires you to come back to your country after 2 years. Even if you're thinking, I don't want to come back, or you're thinking, Chevening is my Japa route and all this kind of stuff, you already know that the right answer to this question is yes. Not because you're going to come back or you're not going to come back, but because it is actually a requirement of the scholarship. So the right answer to this question would be yes. And then it goes ahead to ask, do you hold a recognized undergraduate degree that will be accepted for entry into a postgraduate program in the UK? And then we know that Chevening requires you to have an undergraduate degree, right? So it's not for people who do not have undergraduate degrees. So your undergraduate degree can be either your BSc, your HND or stuff. I don't know if you said in your ND. Whatever degree you have, but you have an undergraduate degree. So if you do not have an undergraduate degree, right, it means that you're at this stage, you know that the scholarship is not for you, because the right answer to this should be yes. And then it goes ahead to emphasize that usually in the UK, you require like to have like a 2-1 to gain admission into a school in the UK. However, this can change for different people, right? It can change for different universities. There are people who had 2-2s, there are people who had even like a third class, people who had like a HND or an ND that ended up, getting admitted into different universities in the UK. So this is like, this can change, but then you should actually choose yes. Now, the next question says, did you graduate from your undergraduate degree before October 2023? Now, this is where it gets tricky. Before, Chevening did not mandate that people, usually there was these 2 years of work experience then, and then we would always say that you can use maybe the years that you worked or your volunteering experience during your undergraduate degree to make up your 2 years if maybe you just graduated and stuff. But now, one of the requirements is that you must have graduated, you must have finished your undergraduate degree before October 2023. Now, this means that your work experience should be experiences after October 2023, right? I don't know if I'm speaking fast, right? So this means that your work experience should be experiences after October 2023. Right? So if you did not graduate before, October 2023, you already know here that you will be disqualified at this stage and you will not be able to continue with your application. So the right answer to this question is yes. And then it's now going ahead to ask, since completing your undergraduate degree, have you accrued the minimum required work experience in hours for your selected award? Now, this means that since October 2023, when you graduated, have you done work that can add up to 2,800 hours? Now, we've met people that were doing their full-time work and they were also doing like volunteering and maybe a part-time work. But however you want to calculate your hours, everything should add up to 2,800 hours, which is an equivalent for 2 years to Chevening. So your answer should also be yes. If you answer no, your profile is going to be rejected, and because you don't even pass this particular phase of the application. Then Chevening doesn't have an upper age limit, right? So it means that whether you're 50, whether you're 60, whether you're 100, or you're 30, or you're 45, you can apply for the Chevening scholarship. But they actually do have a lower age limit. And that means that if you are not up to 18 years, if you're not up to 18 years, you cannot apply for the Chevening scholarship. So if you mistakenly, I believe that everybody on this call, I want to make an assumption that we are all older than 18 years. So if by any chance you make a mistake and you choose no, it means that you're saying that you are less than 18 years, you are not at least 18 years, and that automatically disqualifies you. So, which is why we say that when you're doing your application, when you're filling these details, if you're somebody that requires to be in a very calm environment to be able to think, to be able to process and do your thinking properly, maybe you want to actually do that so that you don't make any mistake. There are people who maybe as a result of filling in the wrong things, they have to maybe look for another email address, but that's like a lot of stress. So you just want to get it done and do it, properly once. So the right answer there is yes. So are you applying to fund? The next question is, are you applying to fund a course of study in the UK starting in autumn term 2026? So we know that there are terms that fall in autumn. There's some master's degrees that start in January. There are some that start mid-year, and then there are also some that start in September. So Chevening only funds master's degrees that starts in the autumn term, which is the term that starts in September, right? So if you put, maybe the school the course you're thinking of studying is going to begin in January, you already know that you should find alternate courses in alternate schools where you can do the same course, or in the same school where you can do the same course in the autumn term, right? So you can only apply for the scholarship with degrees or courses that are going to begin in September 2026. So yeah. So your answer should be yes. So let's continue. Okay. Okay, so is asking, are you a British citizen? I believe that for the Chevening scholarship, people who are, I don't know if I'm wrong, Mr. Martins, can British citizens apply for the Chevening scholarship?
No, they can't.
Okay,
No.
they can't. So, okay, thank you very much. So you already know that if you're a British citizen, you're not eligible for the Chevening scholarship, right? So the right answer to this question is no. If you're a British citizen, there's no need line to put yes and put no. You're a British citizen, you already know that you're not eligible for the scholarship. So maybe you should look out for other opportunities that actually suit your profile and your candidacy. So the next question is, do you aspire to be, or are you already a leader, a decision maker or opinion former in your home country? So we all know that the Chevening scholarship is very, very leadership centric. There is no way you want to answer no in this question. You already know you have to be a leader. Philip says he can't see our screen. Is it the same for everybody? Can we see the screen?
I can see the screen.
I can see
I don't know if
I
you
can see the screen.
Okay, thank you very much. Philip, you can try to maybe leave the call and rejoin. Okay, so it's very important that you answer yes. You must be a leader to be a achiever. Now, the next question is: in the past 5 years, have you studied in the UK with funding from a UK government funded scholarship? So you already know that the right answer to this question is not yes, because I think one of the latest eligibility criteria is that you should have not studied in the UK in the past 5 years with a UK government funded scholarship, right? So if you say yes, it means that you have studied and that makes you ineligible, right? So the right answer to this question is no, because you haven't studied in the UK with funded in the last 5 years. So the right answer to this question is no. Moving on, it's now asking, have you been employed in a permanent, temporary, or internship role since October 2023 by the UK government or the British Council? So we know that people who are currently employed by the UK government or British Council or in the last 2 years, they are not eligible for the Chevening scholarship. So knowing this, the right answer to this question would be no, because you haven't been employed. If you have been employed, at this stage, you know that you're not eligible for the Chevening scholarship, and there is no need, taking it further. Is now asking, have any of your immediate relatives been employed by the organization? So here they are defining immediate relatives as parents, your siblings, step siblings, children, stepchildren, spouse. Now, this is a way that Chevening ensures that there is no bias in their decision making and the selection of scholarships. So it's not open to people who have people that have been employed in these capacities. So if you have your father, your mother has been employed by the British Council or the FCDO, or your brother, your sister, and all that, you know that you have to put the right answer, right? You have to put yes. But if you haven't the right answer, you don't have anybody there, the right answer is no. So yes, that brings us to the end of this one. Okay, so we move on to the next page. So it's saying you receive further instructions over email to continue with your application. Please check your inbox. So these further instructions can either be an automatic rejection or more details for you to continue your application that will now take you to, you can see now that email says eligibility passed because you answered the questions correctly. If you answer the questions incorrectly or your current realities does not match what Chevening is looking for instance, if you graduated after October 2023 or all those other questions, you will see that you will not pass the eligibility, right? And if you answer it incorrectly, you would also not pass the eligibility. So you're saying good news, you have passed the eligibility. You have passed the eligibility test. So yes, we would now go forward to the main application portal. Okay, so this is very, 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 very important because I had somebody who forgot her code, right? She forgot her code after doing her application last year. Chevening now uses, right, this code. So once you get to this code part, please write it, bookmark it, put it on your Google Drive, put it everywhere, put it on Keep, whatever. If you want to write it on hard copy paper, if you want to put it on a sticker, on a sticky note and paste it wherever, just make a note of this access code. It's very, very important because you will need it every time you access your application. And even when the result comes out, you would also need it at some point. So you need your access code all the time you want to access the portal. Right? And you can see in red that you will not be shown the access code again. So it's not something you say, oh, I'll come back to it later, or there's no risk in it. So please copy your access code, save it somewhere that you can find later. So let's continue. So it says, take a photo of your code or write it down in a secure place, and you will not receive the code by email. So it's not going to come by email. You will say, oh, it's going to come by email, right? All right, let's move on. So now it's asking us to enter the access code. Imagine you did not take note of the access code. You have to restart again at this point. Okay. So when you continue your application, you'll be asked to confirm your identity by providing your 8-character access code again. You can see that the access code is very, very important to Chevening at this point, right? And then this will now enable you access your application. So let's move on. So we can see that it's asking us to enter the first, the third, and the eighth character of the access code. So for instance, if you did not write the access code, maybe like me, you just copied it to your clipboard, you will not be able to remember it at this point, right? So you should have written it somewhere so that you can easily remember it. And it might ask you for the next time you're logging in, it might ask you for the second, the sixth, and the seventh. The next time you're logging in, it might ask you for the fourth, the seventh, the eighth, right? So it differs. Yeah. So it now brings us to where the application happens. So on the top, you can see that the deadline for submitting the application is 12 noon on 7th of October 2025. And then if you can see that you have a list of activities that you have to do, these are like the application parts. You have to fill your personal details, your citizenship and travel documents, your education history, your work history, program of study, referees, and all this kind of stuff before you go ahead to submit your application. So let's go down and see the other things that we have. Hi, can anybody still hear me? Okay. So let's open the personal details tab and see what it looks like. Okay. Now, just like I previously mentioned, when filling this out, you don't, maybe after doing the eligibility and everything, you'll be exhausted from input the brain work, right? So you might want to say, oh, I'm tired for today, or maybe I'm distracted. Let me leave it for another day, right? Or until you submit your application, I think this information that you provide here can still be, let me be sure. So please, can you scroll down? Let's be sure that that's the case. Keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Okay, this is all. So I believe that until you submit the application, the information here can still be changed. But it's better to just fill everything once you start, and then you know that it's just your probably your essays that you're still working on. All right. So let's go back up. Hi, also if you can hear me, please can you scroll up? Yeah, thank you. So the first one is your first name. For example, my first name is Ifechi. I have to include my first name. The order of your name is very important because you know that if the order of your name, the order of your name that you provide here is different from the order of your name on your major means of identity, which usually at the end of the day for Chevening and for receiving the Chevening award, you would eventually need your international passport, right? So the order of your name is very important. So if your name is Ifechi, your first name, put Ifechi, your middle name is optional. If you have your middle name on your international passport, there's no need leaving it as optional, just put it. And then put your last name. I don't know if there's anybody that doesn't have a last name, but if you don't have a last name, there is a box for you to tick that you do not have a last name. So let's scroll up. Let's go down. I don't know if it's down.
Sorry, Ikechi, did you say you should scroll down or scroll up?
Let's scroll down, please. Okay, so you now move on to the gender question. These ones are very easy to understand. Gender question, you cannot say you prefer not to say. Please just put your gender, male, female. If you prefer to use your own terms, right? Please click on prefer to use your own terms, and I'm sure you have like a box for you to specify your own terms. Your preferred pronouns. Don't mix it up. Just put the right term, the date of death. You can see the formats in which the date of death. Now, if you in the eligibility you put that you're over 18 years, and then here your date of birth is showing that you're less than 18 years, you already know that that's a problem, right? So you have to ensure that you pay attention to the very detail, because 2000 and 2010 are not the same thing, or 2000 and 2014, they're not the same thing, and people can mix that up, right? And then you also have an opportunity to still confirm your date of birth. You go ahead to put your address. If you have two addresses, you can put it, and then put your city. All these things are just very easy. Put your city, your country. Remember that this application is for Nigeria, right? So you already chose the Nigerian application. If you now want to put country, don't put anyway. The address can be in another country because you can be living somewhere else. Well, maybe you just want to use your address here in Nigeria, right? And then this is where you get to choose which place in Nigeria you would like to come for your interview. I've seen people that did not put a lot of thought into this, right? And then when they eventually go to the interview stage, they start wondering, oh, how am I going to travel? I mean, in the Abia state, how am I going to travel to Lagos? Or I should have put Abuja, or there are no direct flights from where I am to Lagos. So when you're choosing where you want to do your interview, you should put a lot of thought into it. You should think, if I am selected for the Chevening scholarship, and I move to the interview stage in February 2026, right? Do I have somewhere to stay? What logistics would I have to figure out? And sitting down now, where would I stay? What would I do? All that. And then you now make a decision of where to stay. If you're in either of these states, then you're lucky, right? And then they're asking if you require any specific arrangements in order to attend an online or in-person interview, right? If you require anything, you can just put it, if you're probably living with a disability, this is where you choose yes, right? So that when you get to the interview stage, they will send you like follow-up messages on, okay, what can we do for you? How do we do this? Or if you're currently out of country, for instance, you're a Nigerian, and let's say maybe you're living in Portugal, and looking at it now in February or in March 2026, you're not going to be able to come down to Nigeria for your interview. Maybe you want to choose yes. I don't know if it works out. So when you're done, you save progress. Now, there are two tabs: save progress and save and complete, right? So you save progress or you save and complete. So if you save progress, it saves the progress that you made, and then you can come back and edit later. I think that's the case. But then if you save and complete, it ticks it under your application tax. It ticks it on your application tax drop down that you finished your personal details. So let's just save progress and go to the next one, since we didn't really feel anything here. Okay, so it's showing that I've not started because I didn't save my progress. Then the next one is the citizenship and travel documents. Now, if you're offered a Chevening scholarship, it's expected that you will travel. We all already know this. Now it's now goes ahead to state that all questions are mandatory unless they are marked optional. So do you have a valid passport for your country? So even if you do not have, you are going to get a passport. I don't know. Oscar, please can you scroll down? Let me see if that makes sense. Do you have a valid passport? Do you have a valid passport? Okay. Okay, so yes, so you're going to eventually get a passport, so just put yes, right? Okay, okay, this is what I wanted to. So do you have a valid passport for your country? Now, some people would ask, do I need an international passport at this point, or should I just put like in Nigeria we have like driver's license, we have the what we call NIN, right? We have driver's license, we have NIN. So if you don't have your international passport at this point, which I believe you should have already sent into an arrangement for, right? You just put what you use as your valid means of identification in your country, which can be your NIN, right? It's not asking if you hold a dual citizenship. Please, if you do, says if you're Nigerian American, right? If you choose yes, it brings out which country, which territory, and all that. It also asks if you have a valid passport, and you will need to provide all these details. So let's go. Now it's asking if you're a refugee, and they are so generous enough to define what it means to be a refugee. It says you hold a legal residency if you are living somewhere other than your country. So maybe as a result of war, maybe you're from Sudan and you've been forced to move to another country, right? To be in that country, and then you'll be requested to impute what country you actually currently hold a refugee status in. And then it's also asking, do you have any other form of legal residency? So it now explains, for instance, you are a Nigerian and you moved to the UK, and then you got a form of residency in the UK, or you moved to Ireland and then maybe you got a Schengen visa or stuff. So it's also asking, do you have any other form of legal residency in any other country? I thought you answer all these very, very correctly. If you don't have, just put no. They're not going to, it's not going to disqualify you at this stage. It's not going to, it doesn't, so just answer it truthfully. So he's also asking, do you have a valid UK visa or permission to enter or remain in the country, right? So if you put yes at this point, right, you remember where it's, if you have a UK visa, so maybe you have a travel visa, maybe you visit the UK for a short period of time, and all that, and all that, and all that, and all that, and all that. But then if the, okay, okay, thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. I can see that we're all filling. And then it now goes ahead to ask, have you ever been refused a visa for any country? If you have been refused a visa, most times there are many reasons why people are refused visas. It doesn't have to necessarily be wrong, right? If you have refused a visa, please put yes, right? And just provide the details. It doesn't affect your application. It doesn't affect your application in any way, right? It's just to ensure that you're providing the right information. It's now asking, have you been deported? Have you been deported? If you've been deported, please put yes. If you put no, at the point where they're trying to process your travel documents and all that, they will know that you were deported, right? And then they'll go back to your application and then they will see that, oh, he lied. And they can decide to, remove the award and all this kind of stuff. And then it's asking, do you have any criminal convictions, right, in the UK or in any other country? If your answer is yes, please put yes, right? If the answer is no, please put no. And don't
Yes.
put yes.
You-
If the answer is yes, put yes, because I believe that they will still do a background check, right? They will still do a background check on people who are going to be awarded the scholarship. And if you put yes and you eventually got the award, of course, or you were convicted and eventually the conviction was removed, maybe you served your terms and all that, nobody is judging you and all this kind of stuff. And if they decide to give you the award, fine. Right? But if you put no, that's automatically a lie, right? And then it's asking, have you ever been arrested or charged with any offense in your country? If you put yes, you'll still be asked to provide details. So you can see now that sometimes living living a calm or quiet life like Mr. Martin's pays off, right? You will not have to go through the stress of answering some of these questions. But no shades, if you have any reports, just be truthful. It doesn't affect your application at this point. All right. Let's go to the next one. So higher education history. Now, here you're required to add your education history. Remember, higher education, you don't need your primary school certificates, you don't need to add information about your secondary school education. All they need is higher education. If you probably did HND and you now did a BSc, those two pass as higher education, right? So you did HND, you did BSc. Please put it. If you did only BSc, put it, right? Only higher education. Do not put like maybe you did ICANN. It's not, it doesn't pass as like a bachelor's degree. Or maybe you did like a professional certification and all this kind of stuff. So I think there is also somewhere where you can provide additional details on that. But this is just for your higher education. So you go ahead, you can see country, you can see, or if your institution is not listed, like some of us, you go ahead to say, oh, my institution is not listed, you put the name of your institution and all that, right? So you can see that there's a drop down of different universities, but sometimes it doesn't capture all the universities. So if your university is not here, don't fret, right? Just include the name of your university. So they'll go ahead to ask you what course title. Now, the course title is the course that you did. For example, you studied industrial chemistry, right? So you did industrial chemistry. Then you now go down to see the degree type. Or was it a Bachelor of Arts? Or was it a Bachelor of Science? Or was it an MBBS? And you know, all this kind of stuff. So you put what that was. And then you also have to put the start date. Sometimes some of us do not know our start dates, but then we know that, oh, you start school in October, maybe you start school in October 2014, and then you just look for a date that suits that and put, but then your end date should be very specific. It should be the date that is on your final, results, like a statement of result and all that kind of stuff. Everybody has a date there. So put that specific date. And then let's go down. Let's scroll down, choose a result skill. Now, different institutions have different result skills, and most institutions in Nigeria are using the 5.0 skill, right? Where our CGPAs range from 0 to 5.0. So some other people have 4.0, where CGPAs range from 0 to 4.0. So you already know that whatever skill you choose, that's what you should present your results in. For instance, if you mistakenly choose the 4.0 skill, it means that your CGPA, if you graduated with first class, maybe your CGPA will be 3.76, or your CGPA will be a 3.96, and all that, or a 3.56. But if your CGPA is like a 4.13, and then in choosing your result skill, you chose that your result grade is 0 to 4.0, something like that. You find out that when you now put 4.13, it doesn't align with the skill that you chose. So it means that your CGPA was all actually in the 5.0 skill, right? So those are like tiny things. So let's close and move to the next page. Okay. Okay. Now this is where a lot of people have a lot of issues. So the first thing to note is that Chevening requires a minimum of 2 years work experience. And according to their estimation of 2 years post-undergraduate work experience. So now, emphasis on post-undergraduate work experience. Previously, in the previous years, people could use their volunteer hours in school, or maybe their leadership experiences while in school. Maybe you were the director of public health association while in school, or you were that. Some people use that to fill up their hours. But now you know that Chevening has said only post-undergraduate. It means that only what you've done, only your volunteer experience after graduating is valid. Now, I'm also going to reference this for essays, right? And just as an implication, it means that if you're writing your essays, since Chevening this year has emphasized that they want only post-undergraduate experience, as much as you want to tell leadership stories from your undergraduate days, try as much as possible to ensure that you do not do that. Try as much as possible to tell stories from your post undergraduate days, because now they're looking more for experiences after graduation, right? So to add the work history. Also, for calculating the work hours, I don't know if you would have a lot of time to go into that because you're the one that will have to impute it. But then for calculating the work hours, the average 9 to 5 works maybe 40 hours per week, right? Okay. So the average 9 to 5 works 40 hours per week, right? And let's say maximum if you're maybe volunteering with maybe Saturday or Sundays, maybe you do 45 hours, or if you're overstretched, 50 hours. Now, if I think 50 hours is the cap, right? Mr. Matters, am I wrong? I think 50 hours is the max.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So if you
But that,
put
that's already
that,
slavery.
sorry, I didn't get that.
50 hours is already slavery.
Exactly. So 50 hours is already slavery. 50 hours is unrealistic. Now, because most people do many things. For instance, we have a lot of realities. You can be doing your work, right? And you're still volunteering in another organization. And maybe you're doing it Monday to Friday. Monday to Friday. And maybe you have a way. You're just a hyper person, a super active person. And you have a way of pulling off 55 hours every week. You just have a way of doing it. You're super. You sleep 6 hours a week, 6 hours a day, or 5 hours or less, right? Just try to cut it short, right, for this application. So, if for example, I'm working with XYZ organization and I'm volunteering with ABC Foundation, and I just want to maybe highlight the work that I do with XYZ organization, right? So I would go ahead and put 40 hours for XYZ, or I'll put 35 hours for XYZ organization, then put the remaining 10 hours for the organization that I volunteer with. So at the end of the day, my total hours per week would be 10 hours, 45 hours in total, right? But then something that usually makes people, there are people that do not get disqualified at the interview stage. There are people that get disqualified at the screening stage. We all know that there is a screening stage, but after our essays, after you submit your essays, they will first of all screen everything that you provided, all the information that you provided, to ensure that it meets their criteria before they will start reading your essays. So there are people that at that stage they get rejection emails at that stage. And that is usually due to things like this work experience. So you see people that will maybe they were working for jobs. It's very, 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 very achievable in countries like Nigeria, where everybody is doing plenty things because you're trying to survive, right? But for this application, just focus on putting the work experiences that will strengthen your candidacy. It's true that you are doing policy analysis, you are doing business development, um, you are doing entrepreneurship. In fact, you are running your own community. In fact, you are also a local politician. In fact, you're everywhere because you have the grace to do it. But what you want to do is maybe gender development, or you want to do policy and policy stuff. So what you should do is deeply reflect and say, it's true I'm able to do all these things, but which of my work experiences strengthen my application? And then when you identify the two work experiences that strengthen your application, right, you impute those work experiences and you ensure that in each week, especially for work experiences that overlap. So what do we mean by overlapping? For work experiences that happen at the same time. So if I was volunteering from January till today, which is August, and I was also working from January till today, this August, work experiences that overlap, you should ensure that your total hours in two jobs is not more than 50 hours per week. And at the end of everything, all your hours, that's your total hours in both jobs, should be at least 2,800 hours for it to be acknowledged as 2 years work experience, right? It can be more. There are people that have 10 years work experience. So if you add your work experience and the hours is showing a total of 1,000 or 10,000 something, there's no need to be scared, because I remember somebody reaching out and saying, oh, my hours seem so outrageous because I have worked for so long. It's your hours, it's your story. You're the one who has 10 years of work experience, right? So we can't reduce it for you. You've been working since 2010, right? So nobody can reduce it for you. Nobody can take it away, right? So that's that on work hours. So you see that here I have the opportunity to choose my work hours, and if I want to add more work experiences, right, I can still add more. And then you can see that there is a start date. There is a start date, and it asks if this is your current position. If you say yes, there is no end date, right? But if you say no, it brings out an end date. You can all see that. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so this is where you'll be expected to tell the Chevening your selected programs. So Chevening usually has a site where you can see some schools that they currently, have direct partnerships with. And this schools is very easy. Once you tell them that, oh, I'm applying for the Chevening scholarship, right? And there may be the condition of your admission was that maybe you have a deposit fee or stuff like that. Once you tell them, oh, I'm applying for the children's scholarship, they automatically just give you your unconditional offer because they have an understanding with children. But as long as the school is in the UK, your opportunities are endless. If, for example, you want to study in schools outside the ones on the children website, can still put them, right? There's no, I know there are questions like, oh, is it only the schools on that is highlighted on the children website that I can go for? No, you can go for any school as long as it's in the UK and as long as it offers a course that's going to be taught in the autumn semester, which usually begins in September. Okay. Now, we all know that for the children's scholarship, you're expected to select 3 courses, right, that is going to be offered in with each university. So usually, right, it's advised to select maybe a course from 3 different universities. It can be the same course. Maybe you want to do gender and development. You select, okay, maybe University of Sussex, University of Manchester, and maybe UCL, all of them gender development. But if, because the names of courses usually differ, but the content can be the same, right? So if you find out that, oh, maybe this school is development studies, so that school is gender and development, so that school is development for gender, their names differ, but they are still very similar. You can still select them in the same school or in different schools, all right? But you cannot select innovation management and entrepreneurship. And then your second course, you're selecting policy and development. They are not related in any way. So your 3 courses have to be related, very, very strongly aligned, because that's the first way for you to show that, oh, I know what I'm doing, because you cannot be doing innovation management and entrepreneurship and be doing policy at the same time, right? So your 3 courses have to be related, and they can be either from the same school or from 3 different schools in the UK. So it also says that for those who are going to apply for an MBA, now there is a fee cap for MBAs. The last time I checked, I think it was about £22,000. And because usually MBAs are for people who have gotten a level of faith in their career. It's a leadership, master's in business administration. So if you select an MBA course, and most MBA courses are about something £1,000, that's for tuition. Then for tuition is about something £1,000 or £10,000 or thereabout. You know that Chevening is only going to pay a part of your school fees. There's a tuition cap, and I think it's about £20,000. is a tuition cap for MBA courses. So if you're thinking of applying for an MBA course, it's very important to note this, that Chevening can only pay for a particular amount of the fees, and you would have to cover the other part by yourself. Okay, so let's move forward. Now, this is where you now go ahead to choose your sector. And let's see the drop down in the sector, please, etc.
I don't
I can't see the drop down, but I'm sure the sector you would have maybe the health sector and all this kind of stuff. So please choose a sector that strongly aligns. I don't know if there will be there might be others. So if you don't find your sector there, I'm sure your sector should be captured. But if you don't find your sector, then maybe you can now choose others if it's there. But please choose a sector that closely aligns with the course that you're going to choose, right? And then we also remember that Chevening now has strong focus areas around some themes and all this kind of stuff. So maybe the sector drop down, I don't know, I didn't see that part. Right. Okay. So can you please tell us what's on that sector section? The drop down, what can you see?
Okay, so I'm actually tapping on the drop down. I don't know, I can't see it. There's public health, there is development, there is art, design, creatives, politics, international relations. There's a lot of sections.
Okay, okay. So please choose a sector that closely aligns. You cannot then choose arts and design and your first choice is a master's in public health. How? Right. So choose a sector that closely aligns. And then you can now see that you're asked to add your first choice or second choice. Please ensure that before you submit, in fact, at this point, right, one of the major steps you should be taking now to prepare to submit an outstanding Chevening application is that you should already be thinking about the courses and the universities and the rankings and why, right? You should already be doing your research, be looking at your school options. So you should have identified, before you even start filling this thing, you should have identified, this is my first choice. Chevening, once, even in your essay, you eventually be asked first choice, second choice, third choice. So you should have identified, this is why I want to go to this school. I don't know if we all joined our career profiling section last week Sunday, but we touched on it. You should have identified, this is why I want to go to this school. This is why it's my first choice. This is it. And then you list your choices, right? Because we've had people, aside from maybe eventualities like, oh, maybe you applied to your first choice and maybe you didn't get admitted, right? You don't really want to now be going back and forth because you did not choose well, right? So just ensure that your choice sits right with you. And when you're making your choice, there are a lot of things to consider. Maybe with the post our session from last week, there are a lot of things. It's not just about the school and maybe the course options. You consider the city, you consider a lot of other things, you consider life there, you consider the support that you receive from the school and all that. You know, there are people that do not think about all these things. And then at the end of the day, when maybe as a result of research, they now got to find out more information, they now decide, oh, I don't want to go to this school again because of this. So just do your research so that your first choice is your first choice from the get-go. Okay, so let's move on. So we all know that Chevening requires you to have referees, right? Applicants are not required to upload reference letters anymore as part of the application. You will be asked to upload reference letters at a later date if invited to the interview. This is something that they started last year. In the previous years, as in 2023, you would be asked to upload your reference letters at the point of application. However, it is very, very important to ensure that you choose the right references. I think we have a video on that, and would probably just send it later, maybe after the session on the group chat, that we can all go back to it and see how should I choose my references. So we've had people come to ask, oh, should I choose two academic references, two professional references, and all that. Chevening is for people who have done some work. So if you have two professional references, then why not? Now, it shouldn't be because I said you must have two professional references that you will now go and pick somebody that cannot speak to you and to your work. If probably your second professional reference cannot speak to you and your work, you already know that maybe your academic reference will do better at that. Then you want to go for your academic referee, right? So you have to be very intentional about who you choose as your referee. And at this point, you'll be expected to impute their name and their email number, their email address, and maybe their phone number, and stuff like that. You don't want to put a name and then after submitting, when you're now asked to send your reference return, you'll not be like, oh, did I really put this person? How do I reach out to this person? You have to put somebody that you know can speak for you and somebody you're comfortable with from the get-go, right? You don't want to start moving up and down. And I'm not sure you can actually change the names of those that you put at this point or at the point where they ask you to bring your reference later, right? To upload your reference. All right. So we have the supporting statements tab. Okay, so this is your leadership, your essay questions. So remember, there was something that was sent to the group where we said, oh, the achievement team, the team has changed. So they have focus areas. Let me see if I can find it so I would give the right information. So they have focus areas. First one is promoting growth and prosperity. Second one is building resilience in a climate vulnerable world. And the third one is strengthening security and stability in a volatile world. And the fourth one is supporting development for more inclusive and effective societies. So if we want to shorten this, we can say number one, growth and prosperity. Number two, climate change and all that. And number three, security and societies or whatever. And number four, we can have inclusive and effective societies. And Mr. Martin, please, you can help us put it in the chat box for those that want to reference that. Right. So all your answers should be in English. You do not want to write your answers in any other language because the reviewers are most likely going to be people in the UK and stuff like that. So applicants must not repeat answers. We've had people who, this copy and paste. Thank God for the person that invented copy and paste, right? But copy and paste can be bad too, because there are people who copied their leadership essay, pasted it in leadership and relationship building, and because they did not look at it, their essay was disqualified, or their candidacy was disqualified because they provided similar essays. Right? So we now see the leadership experience. Describe a time when you demonstrated leadership. They are now making these essays very, very simple for us, right? Before the questions used to be like, go like, oh, Chevening is looking for leaders, or Chevening is looking for people who have been able to do this and this and this in their community. Describe how you've demonstrated this. But now they're asking you, it's a very straightforward thing that if you even take these questions and write on a book and answer it, you would have your essay. Right? They're asking you, describe a time when you demonstrated leadership. He said, address this. What was the context of the challenge you faced? What specific actions did you take as a leader? What was the outcome? What did you learn? How has the experience shaped your approach to leadership? This is simply the style writing. Situation, task, action, result, learning, right? So they're asking you, remember that this year, Chevening says, a lot of people have been writing essays. This is in quotes. They're saying, we have received a lot of essays. People are giving us statistics from the World Bank. They are giving us statistics from UNICEF. They are writing plenty of things, and we are not able to see them We're not seeing them. We're not seeing their individuality. We're not seeing them, their personality or their personal examples in the essays that they submitted. This year, we want to see you. We want to see your personal examples. Tell us how you have actually demonstrated leadership in 300 words. Now, they have removed 200 words so that you focus more on telling your stories rather than putting on top, jargons and plenty stuff in your writing, right? So focus on your stories. Next, we have the relationship building and influence. Tell us about a professional relationship you built and maintained, and So usually people would think that this relationship building stuff is about, oh, tell us, oh, I belong to this association, and all this kind of stuff. Um, when the question was still a little bit more complex, right? But now the questions are, how was the relationship formed? So these questions are very easy to understand. I met Mr. Martins, how was he formed? On a virtual meeting like this, right? And then what did you contribute to this relationship? How have you sustained or developed the relationship over time? And how will these skills help you build connections with the Chevening community and beyond? So we see that Chevening has made it very easy for you to get to the interview stage. They have simplified everything. This is like everybody's green ticket to get to the interview stage. Just give them what they want to see, and you will get to the interview stage, and let your stories be cohesive. Now, course choice, explain your first choice of course university. Right. Let's please let's go down. Sure. Now we see explain your first choice of course and university. So before, right, you will be asked to, let me be sure that this is what they mean. Please relate your answer to one of the UK priority areas or Chevening. Okay. So you see now, before you will be asked to explain where you have chosen your courses in the UK. And usually you explain your first choice, second choice, third choice. But now the questions have changed. It's asking you explain your first choice of course and your university, right? And all that. So now is the focus on first choice, just first choice in 300 words, minimum of 100 words, maximum of 300 words, just first choice. And it's telling you to relate it to one of the Chevening's priority areas, which Mr. Martins has stated that we will discuss next week Sunday. Okay, so let's not waste time. Then we'll now move to the career plan and impact, outline your medium and long term. So before, it used to be, what you would do post-study or post-study in the UK, what would you do? But now they're telling you to outline your medium and long-term career plans. So before, when we used to, teach people how to write these thesis, we would say, oh, start with your short term, with your medium term, and your long term. Of course, I think that should still be it. But now they want you to place more emphasis on the medium term and long term. It's true that if you come back, you go back to working with you lead foundation as this, but then they're saying we want to know more of what you do in the medium term and the long term, right? So you want to place more emphasis on this in the medium term and the long term. What will you do in 300 words, right? And please relate your answer to it arrange a priority piece in your country. So this is this is like the simplest these essays have ever been. And if you use these prompts and these questions that they have put here in the application, you should be able to answer your question. Like, just take each one. What impact do you intend to make your country? You write it. You take how does your career plan connect with your course of study? You write it. What barriers or obstacles might you face? You write everything, and then you put everything together beautifully as an essay. You would have answered the question. Okay, let's go. Okay, so this is also more like a survey, an equal opportunity survey that you have to take. Just have to answer these questions correctly. What was your country of birth or territory of birth? To answer it. Let's go. Let's have a let's go. Okay. Do you consider yourself to be disabled? Now, there are a lot of things that pass as being disabled. I know people, there are a lot of things. So you have to, if you don't want to say, you can say prefer not to say. if you say you're disabled, please ensure that what it actually means or whatever it says to you actually passes as a disability. All right. If it's yes, you put yes. If it's no, you put no. So we have physical disability, we have cognitive disability, things like ADHD and all this kind of stuff. And we have long-term illnesses, asthma, all these things are considered disabilities. So if you have any of them, please put them. If it's something else, you can still put other. But if it's other, ensure that it passes as a disability. Right? Do you consider yourself to be part of any minority group? For example, if there are minority groups in your country and you consider yourself to be part of that minority group, please put it, right? Please don't put yes, and maybe if you get there, you don't say because you're a woman. Yeah. No, I don't think that's a law, right? So if you're part of exactly. Oh, there's even gender discrimination. Wow, thank you also for pointing that out. So if you consider yourself to be part of a minority group in any way, sorry about that, in any way, gender discrimination, gender identity, and all this kind of stuff, poverty, race, whatever, if you consider yourself to be part of that in any way, sexuality, maybe you're on the spectrum and all this kind of stuff, and maybe it's a minority group in your country. So please put that. If you don't want to say it, you can put that. So if you live in the Federal Capital Territory, like in Nigeria, it's Abuja. If you live in Abuja, you put that. If you don't live there, you just leave that. So these questions are very, very easy to understand. What type of school did you mainly attend between the ages of 11 and 16? So they want to know if you received any form of support. There's bursary, no bursary. That's what it means. Bursary is usually like internal support from a university. Do you receive like internal, or were you just paying your fees? All this kind of stuff. So just read through and answer your questions. What is the highest level of communication achieved by either of your parents by the time you were 18? So when you were 18, what was the highest level of communication your parents achieved? So just answer that. It's different for everybody. Still. Finally. So when you've filled everything, right, you can see that usually in previous years, I know that people used to mistakenly submit the application, but now they have developed the interface of the website to ensure that you will not submit your application until you have saved everything as complete and you've answered all the important questions, right? At the end of when everything has shown completed, you can now go ahead and submit your application. Right. So these are like the core components of the application portal, or what it takes to put in the Chevening application. So we'll take the next few minutes to answer questions. Let's aim to end the session by, let's say, 7:30. So we can all go back to our days. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Osato. You did amazing. All right, so do we have questions? You can raise your hand and speak. I think we can have two people speak, and then others can drop their questions in the comments or in the chat. So if you want to ask a question, you can unmute your mic and speak.
Okay, hi.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some questions on the chat.
Okay. Let me see if I can find them. Okay. So, where can we get the prompts? Ogechi asks, once you create your application, you will see the prompts, but maybe we can copy the prompts. Osato, do you want to help us copy the question prompts and probably put it in a document? We can share it if maybe you're not yet ready to start your application process, but you want to start reflecting on the questions. We would copy it and share. Please, the leadership and relationship essay should be related to the priority areas. Yes. Your whole candidacy, your whole essay should be related to it. It's just like somebody says, oh, I am looking for somebody to work with me as a program officer, right? Let's say I'm just using that. as a program officer. If you're tailoring your CV, as we all know, you want to tailor your CV, you want to tailor your CV to stand out as a program officer. If you go and put in that everything in your CV is showing that, oh, you're a partnership director and all this kind of stuff, in as much as your experiences are valid, you will not be selected because you've not tailored your CV to meet um, the qualifications of a program officer. So now, if someone is saying your whatever you're doing has to reflect either of these things, it must not. You don't even just choose one of the things that aligns with what you want to do and ensure it reflects it. All those things. There's, I think, for everybody here, no matter what you want to do, you would actually find a way to connect what you want to do to either of those things, right? So just look at it, think deeply, and read. I think they would definitely have somewhere on the children website where they will explain what each of these things means. So you just look for it and read it and try to understand it and see which one, what you want to do fits into, right? Um, my question is related to eligibility. If I meet the work hour requirements in less than 2 years, uh, so if you have 2,800 hours, that's what they consider as 2 years, right? It's not really our calendar 2 years. What they consider as 2 years is 2,800 hours. I hope that answered your question, right? 2,800 hours is what is considered as 2 years, right? So if you have 2,000, I don't know how you do have that, right, in less than 2 years, because remember we said that an actual work week, a realistic work week, should not be more than 50 hours. So if you have 50 hours, 50 hours in 1 year, I don't know if it's up to 2,800 hours. So you want to actually be very, very realistic in your application, right? So your hours should not be more than 50 hours. Okay, do you have any other questions?
Yes, somebody is asking, at this application stage, will Chevening send an email or contact my referees?
No. Chevening does not even contact your referees. Chevening just expects you to identify those who can speak to your capabilities. After you submitted your application, and only those who get to the interview stage will be asked to upload their reference letters. And usually, it is really your responsibility to get your referee to write to your reference letter, and you have it ready for when the application or Chevening opens up their portal for uploading reference letters. At the application stage, you're not expected to, they will not send an email or contact your referees. But please, before you put somebody as a referee, contact the person. Ensure the person is able to speak to you in the capacity that you want to. You might not necessarily tell the person at that stage that you want to apply for the Chevening scholarship in case you want to be discreet. Just tell the person, I want to apply for an opportunity, and please, would you mind writing a reference letter or stuff? Or maybe you guys, maybe go out and sit out or have a conversation about it in details, right? So we have a session from last year on writing reference letters. We will send that in the community after this session. Is there another question? Okay, I can see another question. How does the admission with your, okay, so we have a session tomorrow about on SOPs and SOP writing. I believe that that question will be answered tomorrow. So ensure you're in tomorrow's session. And admission condition offers, I'll just try to a summary. So when you apply to a school, you send your SOP. They either give you, right? They either give you a conditional or unconditional offer. So a conditional offer means we have given you admission, but this is our condition. Either maybe send a reference letter, it can be, oh, make a deposit of maybe £2,000 to accept, like the way we do in Nigeria now, acceptance and fee, or if you need a fee deposit and all this kind of stuff, or they need you to provide more information about something. So once you provide that, you will now be given what they call an unconditional letter. So the unconditional letter now says, oh, you now have our full support. You're now our students. Just pay your fees and you can come and study with us. Right. So that's what the unconditional letter means. Okay. At the moment.
Okay. I think we have just two more and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
So let
this
me
one
read
is
that you
okay. Go
read.
ahead.
Please, for the work hours, I want to be clear. If I have two jobs that overlap, there should not be more than 50 hours a week. So I think this person is asking if the two jobs should not be more than 50 hours for a week.
Yes, the two jobs should not be more than 50 hours in a week. So if you have two jobs that overlap, right? I know that there are people, especially in Nigeria, that probably have two full-time jobs, right? But the truth is, even if you have two full-time jobs, you cannot be working on two of them. It's true that each of them, you say each of them are like 9 to 5, 9 to 5. But the truth is, maybe in your day, during your day, maybe you give this one 3 hours and give the other one 4 hours, right? Or you give this one 2 hours and give the other one 4 hours. So there will definitely be one that has one higher priority, right, than the other. And if you say you're in a full-time employment, also I forgot to mention this. If you're, I'm not sure it should be less than, especially in Nigeria, it should not be less than 35 hours in the real sense. Full-time employment, it's not less than 35 hours per week. It's not less than 35 hours per week, right? Unless it's part-time. And for part-time and volunteer opportunities, you can see some people have 5 hours a week. That works. Maybe it's only Saturdays that you volunteer. Part-time, maybe you work 10 hours a week. That's how it works. But for full-time, I'm not sure it should be less than 35 hours per week. Realistically, Monday to Friday, it's not going to be less than that. Overlapping hours. Ensure that your two jobs, you choose the one that's going to be full-time and the one that's going to be part-time at the end of the day. Of course.
Okay, I think this will be the last one. Saying so, this person, Margaret, can I choose a university that's not listed as Chevening support? This is because two of the schools I chose are not listed in the Chevening support.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
So I think she picked two schools that Chevening does not support, and she's asking if she can go to those schools.
Okay. So as long as the school is in the UK, as long as the school is in the UK, as I earlier, so it's not really like a children support something like that. It's just that they have like a form of understanding. These schools recognize children's scholars, right? They understand what the children's scholarship is about, and so they will give you all the support you need at the points of your admission and everything. It will be very seamless because they have an understanding with children. But if you find other schools that suit you, right? Other schools that suit you, why not? As long as the school is in the UK, children is open to it.
Okay, then Ifechi, I think one last thing we should talk about is people that are going for MBA. Who want to go for an MBA with Chevening scholarship.
Yes. Okay, so I previously mentioned that if you want to do an MBA with the Chevening scholarship, you have to know that there is a fee cap, right? There is a fee cap. I think it's about £20,000 on your tuition fee, right? It means, what does this fee cap mean? It means that if your school fees at the University of Oxford for an MBA is £45,000, right? Chevening would only pay £22,000 and you're expected to cover the other part of the tuition, right? So if you want to go for an MBA and you've searched and you know that you're not able to afford that, maybe you want to look for other courses that still support your candidacy. Maybe you now start thinking of maybe innovation and or business development or something, and maybe start thinking of other plans of how you or applying to other schools that support MBA scholarship. What for Chevening, we have a tuition fee cap of 22k, and there are almost no schools in the UK that have MBA courses and the school fee is 22k. So even if you search and search, you will not find anyone that you would not be required to pay, right? So yeah. So somebody said some of us work more than 50 hours on one job. It's true. We have all our realities. Some of us even work 70 hours a week. Some of us work all night, right? It shows toxic culture, right? Toxic work culture. But please, as much as possible, just put 50 hours on your job. Then just to get past Chevening, it doesn't negate your current realities. It doesn't in any way negate your realities, right? Somebody said, I got logged out while you were answering the first question on whether leadership and vision pages. Yes, everything has to be connected to the team. Can I choose a school that I deferred their university last year? Yes, if you can choose a school that you already have an admission in and you deferred, and if your deferment was approved, you can choose it, right? If I continue working, will they consider those 2000? No, at the point of the application, that's because of the application, October 2025, your total work hours under your job and other jobs must be up to 2,800 hours. Yes, the recorded session will be available. Okay. If you're asking questions around priority areas, we would address that in subsequent question sessions. We have overshot our time. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here with us. Thanks for your attention. I think we have come to the end of today's session. Over to you, Osato. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Ifechi. Thank you everyone for joining. Mr. Martin just answered one question on the chat box. You don't need to have applied to the school before you finish your Chevening application, but you should be able to know the schools that you are applying to already, because as you saw when we're doing the demo session, you need to have your schools already, because you have to impute it in your application. And if I begin a new job in September, can I add it to my work experience? You can add it to your work experience, but like we already said, after you submit it's just going to count for September. It's not like you can extend it or something. So when you submit, that is the end. You cannot add to it after submission. All right, thank you so much, everyone. We have a session tomorrow with some Chevening scholars, and we would encourage everyone to be on the call. It's by 4 p.m. West African time tomorrow. We will send reminders on the group, so please do your best to join in, because the session will be very enriching, and not just people that want to apply for Chevening, want to apply for any scholarship at all. You should be there tomorrow, because the insights that they will share will be applicable for any scholarship that you are going for. So thank you all so much for your time, and we'll be wrapping it up here. The recording we made available maybe later this week. Thank you all so much. Good night, everyone.